Hello, my name is Eric Kelleher, and welcome to the Design Thinking Academy's PDX series. In this video, we'll be talking about the define stage of the design thinking process. Many people tend to gloss over this section, and while it's fairly straightforward, it can actually be complex and can impact the whole trajectory of how you approach a design project. The define phase centers around creating a point of view statement. The point of view is a unique, concise reframing of the problem statement, grounding it in the user's needs and insights. What is happening during this portion of the design cycle is a synthesizing of all the data that has been gathered up to this point, all the empathy mapping, interviewing, and research being done, and then narrowing it down to the bare bones, determining who your user or persona will be that you're designing for, what their needs are, and any insights that you've gained. Part of the value of this step is focusing your attention on the true problem at hand, and again, narrowing it down. Too often, when a challenge is provided and information is collected, team members want to try to solve for everybody, even when the needs are varied enough that they don't necessarily mesh. Or they may try to solve for too many identified problems by a single person. When this happens, you end up struggling to solve any problems at all. Too many people want to take a Swiss Army knife approach to attacking a problem. In an attempt to meet all of the needs, you end up meeting none of the needs. So, how do we avoid this? By compiling all of the data gathered from interviews, observations, and research, and boiling it down to a single user or persona, their needs and their insights. Needs are what you've heard or observed that a user wants done, often associated with action verbs, and the insights are your interpretation of the why they want it, what their motivation is. So let's look at a possible example challenge statement, looking at something from our past. Let's say, how might we make a faster elevator? In the early industrial age, buildings began to spring up all over the East Coast. Many of these new buildings were taller than anything that ever was built before, and most had elevators. As buildings got taller and taller, more people began to use elevators. In those days, elevators were especially slow. People were constantly complaining about it. So elevator companies were challenged with this problem and came up with a typical problem statement: the elevators are moving too slowly. So off they went to design new elevators that were faster and safer. However, at the same time, it was very expensive to do so. What would have been helpful was if they had understood the empathy better and interviewed people up front to gather data and to truly listen to what people were saying. If they had done that, they could have developed a define map like the one shown here, to post all the data they gathered and to look for trends, as well as what people truly wanted, and here's the key, why they wanted it. If they had done so, they might have come to the same conclusion that this one elevator company did. They reframed the problem. The company posed a different problem statement. Theirs said, how might we help prevent people from thinking that elevators are too slow? So one engineer proposed that they work on a different problem statement. He proposed that the problem was that people think elevators are moving slowly. He inserted two words, people think, into the problem statement, which allowed the design team to approach the problem from a very different angle, and thus a whole new set of ideas emerged. Instead of concentrating on larger motors, slicker pulley designs, and things like that, they concentrated on the passenger in the elevator. When they looked at the problem from this angle, the idea started to snowball. Is it really too slow? Well, why do they think it's slow? How can we distract them? How can we make it more comfortable? Are customers scared of heights? This led to some first-hand customer research, and they found that a lot of people thought the elevators were a lot slower than they actually were. They also discovered that people had an exaggerated sense of time because they had nothing to do but stare at the wall and think about the safety of the elevator being suspended in the air and preoccupied with the fear of falling and the amount of time that it was taking. So there was a need for room and additional equipment, of course, so they brainstormed on that as well. This led to the idea of installing mirrors in the elevators so people would think about something else besides danger and time. Was their hair combed properly? Did their makeup look okay? By installing mirrors in the elevators, people became distracted and were no longer occupied with the fear of falling or how to look at how long it took. On a follow-up survey, interestingly, customers commented on how much faster the new elevators were, even though the speed was exactly the same. The elevator design itself had not changed at all. So by looking at the data you've collected and reframing the problem statement to meet that one or two needs of a single user, or even a persona that represents a person, as well as all the insights that you gain by looking at their real motivations, you'll be able to create a clear, concise point of view statement. This is what one would look like transferred to your POV statement. The user, the need, and the insight. Note that the reframing the challenge based on the data you've gathered could really change your approach from the need of being a faster elevator to the need of a distraction during elevator rides. As you move on to the next phase of ideation, you'll see how much that could actually change the results that you come up with. So in summary, post users, needs, and insights collected from your team's wall chart and share out your thinking. Review what's been collected. Are the needs and insights matching up to the original challenge statement? Or is there something else underneath? If so, you may need to reframe your statement. Discuss and select as a team the one user need insight combination that best helps to either address your original problem or the reframed one. And then complete the point of view statement and post it on your team wall. If you're looking for a great short article on the value of reframing an original problem statement, check out this one called Frame, Reframe, Move Forwards by going to bit.ly/reframing the problem. That's it. Thanks for joining us on this month's installment of PDX.